Anyway, welcome tonight. Tonight is our 7th class on the spiritual power tools, support for your soul. I think we're going to make it through the end of the book today, but if not, it's okay because we can do whatever we want to. But I'm going to share my screen. Make sure my PowerPoint is set up. We've got a few power tools tonight that we're going to go over after we check in. So let's see. Okay, I'm sharing screen. All right, let's get that open. And I have to tell you, I am not on my game today. Just my allergies are going crazy. It's raining. My internet has been horrible today. And that is just the day I'm having. So there we go. Okay, so just wanted to check in with everybody first to see if you had an opportunity to use the 7 steps this week. And if so, what did you notice? If you'd like to share, if not, that's okay. But just think about it anyway, because we're going to check back in with those 7 steps. And our next power tool is guidance after you use the 7 steps. So checking in about your process using the 7 steps is appropriate for tonight. I just wanted to see if that's been helpful to you also. I really would like to do towards the end of the year, a 7 steps on releasing the year. So anyway, so we will see these 7 steps in another form soon anyway. And how's your spiritual hygiene going? Meditation every day, watching your thoughts, watching your emotions, being attentive to them. We're going to talk about that more tonight as well. So anyway, okay. So feel free to share anytime, no hurry. Just wanted to throw those questions out there. All right. Okay, so spiritual power tool number 5 is guidance after completing the 7 steps. So when we take something, an issue, a piece of our iceberg, a situation in our lives that's been part of our identity, we take that and we process it using the 7 steps. Since that's what we're talking about, you can process it using all sorts of tools, but the 7 steps is what we're talking about. Then things shift, our perception shifts, our alignment shifts. And so we can see changes within us, but then those changes kind of filter out to our surroundings sometimes, not always, but sometimes. So relationships with spouse, children, parents, or friends could shift. Change in job or career. I often work with people on taking their jobs up the 7 steps, even if they're still in it, even if they don't know if they want to move to something new or stay where they are, but being able to just get a fresh perspective on the situation they're in is always a good idea. Moving to a new home or city, lifestyle modification in terms of new interests, hobbies, social activities, things can shift. Gosh, I used to be interested in crocheting and now it doesn't really come on my radar. I actually have a box of yarn that I bought before I moved down to Florida because I wanted to make an Afghan. Not a lot of need for Afghans in Florida, but the yarn is really pretty and it's still sitting in the box. So we'll see what happens if I ever do anything with that. Any combination of changes. I like to use the metaphor of when we transplant a plant from one pot to a larger pot so it can grow, a lot of times nothing happens to our eyes. Nothing happens that's visible when it is in its new pot until much later because the roots are growing first. And when we're working on something at a deeper level, the inner changes are happening and outer changes may not show up right away. They may show up later, if at all. But again, it's all about our perception. It's all about our clearing out our own false beliefs around whatever situation we're releasing, and then whatever shows up around that. And so it might not be noticeable right away, and that's okay. Okay, you guys are sharing something, so I'm gonna check this out. meditating every day and really relying on it? Yes, good, very good. Been using the 7 steps process to end a relationship, as well as looking back at past relationships. Helpful. Well, go back up here. It's got a mind of its own over here. It's helpful for patterns. Yes. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I love that about the 7 steps where you know, a lot of times when I first introduce the 7 steps to somebody, they will be working on it at home and then come back to their next session and say, oh my gosh, I thought of like 5 different things I need to use this process on, because things are so interrelated. Wherever we go, there we are. So we take our issues, we take our processes with us. Meditation is helping me see how often I have conversations in my head and let go of the conversations. Wonderful, wonderful, that's great. And really, that's what being conscious is about, is understanding what's going on in our brains all the time, not all the time, you know, a little at a time, and then shifting what needs to be shifted so we can let go of some of those false beliefs and those old thought forms that get in the way of being able to freely move forward. I've been more conscious of my thoughts and reactions to other situations. My week has been much smoother. Yeah, good, good. It really does make a difference. That's awesome. And thank you for sharing all of that. All right. So some tips and pointers Jane Elizabeth offers on guidance after completing the 7 steps and support and backup. So because things are shifting, we shift them through our work, through our processing, and then there can be sometimes often vibrational shifts and changes that feel a little anxiety provoking to our physical mind-body system, because when things change, our vibration changes, our energy changes around it, and it can feel like, you know, something's rumbling inside of there, and it's really our iceberg of storage shifting to recalibrate, rebalance, so that we can move forward with our new state of mind. And so it can be disconcerting to our brains, because our brains are used to everything being status quo. Our brains work really hard to keep things status quo, and we can't, you know, we can't do that if we're going to move and change and grow and evolve, right? So these are some tips for how to deal with all those rumblings and things that are changing. So if life circumstances seem out of control, meditate, take charge of your mind, journal, soothe yourself, and so forth. So breathing, brain spotting, doing a self-spotting on a calm spot, which I have a video for on my YouTube channel, is really helpful to just kind of let the mind-body system know it's okay, change is coming, it's all right, we're good. Journaling about what those thoughts are saying or what the life circumstances that are out of control seem to be, put them down on a list. Okay, this feels out of control right now. Okay, put that on one side of your paper. On the other side, you can put down, okay, what do I have control over in this situation? And go through each anxiety-provoking situation and write down what you do have control over, so that your mind does have something to grab onto, because we'll work with our human brains, you know, we need to, and our human brains need food, and they need that anxious part of us that wants to be safe, needs something to do. So we can give it something to do. Okay, brain, here's what I can't control, here's what I can control. So let's put our focus on what I can, what is in my control. So sometimes we can feel confused and frustrated or depressed and apathetic, and you know, we can remind ourselves. That's when we have to be a really good friend to ourselves and remind ourselves that there's something happening here, things are shifting, I'm in the middle of that shift, and you know, hang in there. It's not going to be like this forever. Hang in there. So, you know, I was talking to somebody earlier this week about, I can't remember the circumstance, but about, you know, the world, and we're in the that transitional phase of the evolution of our planet, really. And we're in the messy, uncomfortable part of it. Eventually, this is all going to blow over, and the scale is going to tip to greater understanding and greater awareness in the world, more compassion, and all of that. But who knows how long that's going to take? I don't know. But we're right in the messy part. Like if you're cleaning out the closet, we're the stages of cleaning out the closet. Before we clean it out, while we're cleaning it out, after we've cleaned it out. And our world is in the while we're cleaning it out phase. It's a big closet. So it's going to take some time. But if we can know that and hold our own space, inner space, at peace and loving and serving and holding compassion and holding ourselves above a 5 on that spiritual thermometer as much as possible, then we're doing our part to help that closet get cleaned. And if there's something in the world that we feel moved to do and that we know is ours to do, all the better, all the better. Okay, if you get into escapist or avoidant behaviors, try not to fill the void. Oh my gosh, no shopping, no, stick with your spiritual hygiene. That's really why it's there too. It's there to help clear you out every day, but it's also there as an anchor to grab onto. It's like I make my bed every day because it feels better and it sets my day up for order and clarity. And so it's really setting up my day, and that's what our spiritual hygiene is about too, and our emotional hygiene is about. It's about keeping things clear so we can keep things moving and set up our next moment for the best possible scenario, the best possible outcome. So that discipline routine is so important. Give yourself an anchor commitment. I will not shop, eat, or drink after doing the 7 steps for at least 2 days. I don't know. Put the number in there so that, maybe you want to eat, but eat healthy things, eat things that are nurturing, lots of fruits, lots of vegetables, and don't go on Amazon. And I have to watch myself on Instacart now too, because I really like not going to the grocery store. So, all right. So let's see what you guys are saying over here. I want to meditate every day, but I haven't been. I went through the spiritual tools on one relationship situation. Good for you. Way back in my teen years, I came to the reality it was not the relationship itself, but the joy of youth. Good for you. And you know what? That's the beauty. That's kind of like it's a little bit more significant, but it's similar to my single girl card that I had to release. I did not know what that represented until I started the process. And so it helps uncover those layers that are there and we don't even know are there. And overanalyze. Yeah, overanalyze to avoid what's uncomfortable. Yes. Yeah, because it makes us feel like we're doing something, right? Like if we can toss it back and forth in our mind and come up with different scenarios, then it feels like we're taking action when really maybe we need to be stepping back, or we've analyzed enough and now we don't need to do it anymore, whatever. But yeah, just to watch those kind of things, because there's changes happening on the inside. We can't see them, like the repotted plant. We've been repotted and we can't see what kind of changes those are going to bring until we finally see movement in the leaves, or the flowers, or, so we have to be patient and we have to be encouraging to ourselves, and maybe hopefully you have some friends who can be spiritually encouraging to you. And that's always helpful too, because, I've got my friends that I call when I want them to validate my human perspective. And I've got my friends who I call when I really want support in moving through something and coming to the other side of it. So, that support is nice too. But ultimately, we have to do that for ourselves. Okay, spiritual power tool number 6, dissolving your emotional pain. And as I was thinking about this one for today, I was thinking really this entire book is about dissolving our emotional pain. And so it's not just one tool, it's the entirety of this book. This is how we do it. We dissolve our emotional pain because as we're clearing these things from, we have a goal, we have an intention, we have a heart's desire, and as we move towards it, everything that needs to be cleared out in order to reach that comes up and kind of gets in our faces. And so from that iceberg, from our depth, powerful emotions are coming up, anger, jealousy, depression, shame, sadness, fear, anxiety, whatever. And these things are coming up to be released. They've been stored there. They didn't just come out of nowhere. They certainly didn't just come out of the present situation. These are coming up from the depths, and we are using the present situation to help move them through. So they're coming up to be cleansed, to be purified, to be made aware. And, as a therapist, I've seen over the years different categories of tools that we are taught to teach our clients in therapy. And there's the self-soothing tools, which are really important because when we're in our emotions, we need to be able to soothe ourselves so that we can work through it and find out what we need to know. And then there are the tools that help us with that processing part. We've got the soothing part, which is fine, but we can't stop there. We've got to do the processing so that the clarity comes from within and the awareness of what it is that I'm letting go of, or what is it that I'm shifting. And what I see so much is that we stop at the self-soothing part of that. And it's great to self-soothe. It's great to feel calm, but that's not making the root go away. We have to dig deeper and dissolve that emotional pain and the source of that emotional pain to the best of our ability so that change is really happening. Otherwise, we're just cleaning the same thing over and over again. When I remember when I was growing up during summer, we were allowed to go out to play after we've dug up on some dandelions on gardening day. We had to dig up some dandelions and then we can go play. And I remember my dad telling us we had to get to the root or they just come back. So that's a metaphor that I recall. There a situation that I recall that I like as a metaphor for getting to the root of our emotional pain. Our emotional pain is like a weed, and if we just hack the top off of it so we feel better and the yard looks very polished, it's not going to really matter in a few days because those dandelions are just going to come back up and spread their seed, and the same is true with those core places within us that if we're not going deeper than just soothing them, it's great to be above a 5, but if we're not getting the understanding and the release, working towards the release, then that emotional issue, that pattern is just going to keep producing its dandelion seeds. Being the observer of yourself when these emotions are arising is essential. That observer self is your higher self. That observer self is your above the 5 self, your 10 on the spiritual thermometer self that is able to step back and look at the scenario and look at the situation and say, okay, here's what we need to do with this. And then let's do it. The non-observer self, the emotional pain, wants to just it wants to feel better, but it's like the drowning person who wants to be saved and just grabs onto somebody and pulls them down with them. That's what our emotional pain does. If we can soothe it, but that's kind of like putting it on a shelf for a while. If we just say, hey, I'm feeling this pain, I'm feeling this emotional pain, what do I need to do about it? then we're cooperating with it. Because that emotional pain is up not to vex us, even though it feels like that. It's up to be embraced and healed. It's like a crying baby, a screaming, crying baby that needs something from us. And we can put a pacifier in its mouth and, set it in the bed or whatever, but it's still going to cry if we're not changing the diaper or feeding it or finding out what's needed here. What do I need to do to nurture and foster my growth? And it's a good reminder that she has in her book, you can't wake up to your whole self. You can't express your full potential if you're repressing, avoiding, or denying emotions. And let me tell you, I am really good at this. So this I had that sentence there actually for me. So glad to share it with you. So yeah, and that's what I see. That's what I'm talking about too, where it's one thing to be soothing emotions, or even just having times where it's like, yeah, it's not time for me to deal with that right now. That's a worry about the future, and I can't do anything about that. But there's another time to embrace it and say, okay, this is really what's going on in my heart. This is what I'm feeling, and I need to address it, or I'm not going to be happy because it's just going to keep coming up. All right, so steps for dissolving our emotional pain, which include other of our spiritual power tools. Identify the emotion. In neuroscience, they say name it to tame it. Naming the emotion kind of helps bring it from being in our faces, all over us, feeling like we are our emotion. And naming it helps it to come out here a little bit, where we can say, okay, I'm feeling sad. I'm feeling so sad. Okay, great. Now I can do something about it. But if I'm just feeling sad and letting myself stay in the place where I don't know what to do with this, then, I'm not going to be able to do anything about it. But if I can name it and say, okay, this is what's happening. And if we need to, we forgive ourselves for this emotional pattern. And that seems like such a little thing to say. Just forgive yourself for this emotional pattern. But a lot of times we suffer more with our emotional pain because we're judging ourselves for it. We're judging ourselves for feeling whatever, I don't want to feel angry. I don't want to feel sad. I don't want to feel afraid. Well, yeah, neither do I, but guess what? I'm human, you're human. We're going to feel these things. We just are. It's part of the human experience. So being able to forgive ourselves for this emotional pattern kind of helps take away that judgy voice inside our heads around what's happening. And you don't have to call it forgiveness even. You can just say, okay, accept that this emotional pattern is here. We have been around so many lifetimes and judged ourselves so harshly that there's shame that comes up around seeing patterns in ourselves. Oh, I don't like this about myself. That I don't know. I wish I could think of an example right now off the top of my head, because I know I have probably a million of them floating around in there. But wherever we go, there we are. So that our patterns, because they're patterns and because they've been in there, there's a long string into that subconscious connecting all these places. And we may have to look at the same pattern 50 times before we've cleared out everything we need to clear out from. So that heaviness of seeing the same old thing over and over again, that forgiveness and that acceptance and that reframing the situation to say, okay, I really don't like having to look at the same pattern again, but here it is. So what do I need to see this time? And having self-compassion for your human experience and acceptance that it's there. And because criticizing ourselves or shaming ourselves for feeling that way inhibits our healing. It cuts it off. Says, okay, I'm not okay because I'm feeling this. So I'm going to pack it back down in my iceberg in disgust and annoyance, and I don't want to have to deal with it. Except it's still there, and it's going to come out kittywampus whenever the next opportunity arises. So we might as well do something about it now. Remind yourself that your soul, your higher self, your parent self, your good parent self, your adult self, your soul can overcome and resolve any negative pattern. And that's part of the positive self-talk that we need to have for ourselves, because it's true, our souls can overcome and come over, see, it's my day, any negative pattern that we have. We are wired both in our, if you want to just talk about it as our human level, as well as, well, first and foremost on the spiritual level, but our human level in and of itself, it's the physicality of our human self is designed to heal. And if you don't think that's true, next time you scratch yourself on something and it starts bleeding, just watch for the next few days how your body knows how to heal that. And if our bodies know how to do that, so do our minds and hearts and souls times 100. Okay, so reminding yourself that your soul can overcome and resolve any negative pattern is not just a nice affirmation to say, it's the truth. It is the truth. And then release that emotional energy by journaling, one of our spiritual power tools, 7 steps, another one of our spiritual power tools, and that self-talk again. Affirm that you're releasing the problem and trust that healing is happening. And remember, it's going to be happening on the inside before your conscious mind can see it or feel it. A lot of times, many times. Sometimes we feel it right away and it's great. We love those times, right? But other times it takes time to process through and recalibrate us. So we have to be patient with ourselves and with the process. All right. What are the 3 things? Repress, deny, blank to know our whole selves. I'm not sure I understand that. Leslie, if you could clarify that for me, that would be great. Repress, deny, question. It's from the prior slide. Repress, deny. Okay, let me go back then. Oops. Oh, thank you. Got it. So you can't wake up to your whole self if you're repressing, avoiding, or denying your problems, your emotions, or problems. All right. Yes, that is, you're very welcome. That is a good one. Good one to go back for. All right. So spiritual power tool number 7, guidance still. So here's some, oh no, this is a different one. I'm sorry, see, this is my head today. Spiritual power tool number 7 is guidance. And these are steps to practice developing your intuition and your guidance. So the first one is to still your mind. When you're asking for guidance, still your mind. I want to go back here. I want to make sure I didn't miss, oops. No, there it is. Okay. Just want to make sure I didn't miss a slide because I forgot what order they were in because that's my head today. So when you are asking for guidance, when you want to check in with your intuition on something, still your mind as much as possible, right? Don't resist your thoughts. Just let them pass through your head. And in this way, you can create a clean slate of receptivity. Release any preconceived ideas or emotional investment you have. This is the hard one. Releasing any preconceived or emotional investment you have. I want to ask for guidance, but I really want this to be the answer. I want to follow my intuition, but I really want the outcome to look like this. And we can't, I mean, we can do that. And quite frankly, we do it all the time as humans, but then we're not really listening to our intuition. And it makes it harder to listen to our intuition if we're holding on to a certain response that we want. You can't truly ask if you think you already know the answer, right? We're not really asking the question. We're just wanting validation of our human desire. Guidance can come from all sorts of sources: radio, book, movie, friend, billboard, class. So be attentive. Listen with your eyes, your ears, your heart, and be patient. And another hard one, accept the answer you receive. Don't judge or try to analyze it with your logical mind. Show the universe you are accepting that guidance by acting upon it. Seems simple enough, doesn't it? Just two tricky spots in there. That emotional investment and acting on what we get, because that can be very difficult, because we don't always want to do what our intuition is telling us to do. The more we practice with it, the more we say, okay, I really didn't want to do that at the time, but down the road, looking back, I can see, wow, I'm so glad I went through with that, because now this is free. You know, our intuition is connected to that universal wisdom, right? And it comes down through us as we're listening, down in whatever. It's not really directional, I guess, but, you know, just the way it can feel sometimes is that energy is coming down and it is becoming part of us. And our job is to be receptive to it. Our job is to listen and be open to it. And there's a train of thought there too that I lost because. Okay, so intuition or ego, how to tell? This is a question that has come up, oh my gosh, so many times over the years. How do we know if it's our intuition or ego? So Jane Elizabeth has a few questions here that help guide that response. You know, just as we're practicing learning, you know, is it good for all concerned? Is it moral? Is it going to hurt anyone? Does it demonstrate unconditional love? And I will just say no political comments here. We're just not going to go there. But I could resist saying that. But so is it good for all concerned? Is it moral? Is it going to hurt anyone? And does it demonstrate unconditional love? You know, unconditional love is a really funny thing because it can be very outwardly loving. And obviously, like in our general definition of what love is, but unconditional love can also look very harsh, very very hard to understand for other people looking in, you know. So that's why our own intuition is so important to develop rather than just listening to somebody else, you know. And I always say there's no good spiritual teacher out there if they're not teaching people how to listen and follow their own guidance. You know, so that unconditional love that we are demonstrating based on an intuitive prompt can look really crazy to other people, or it can look very harsh or whatever. But, you know, when that comes inside of you, you know it's your intuition because the whole self of you has to do it. You feel, I mean, that's when it's coming in really strong. It doesn't always come in that loudly, but many times it can be very strong. It's like, I have to do this. I don't really know why, but I know I have to do this. And that's, this is going to look insane to everybody else, but I have to do this. I have to do this for me because my heart is crying for me to do this. And I just have to listen to it. All right. So there's a statement too. Yeah, that's good. I do not know my own self-best interest. Now that's a nice prayer of humility, right? I don't know. My human self doesn't know, but my soul knows. My God self knows. My self connected to universal energy. You know, it's really interesting. When I said God self, it just made me remember, because I was going to talk about it a little bit later anyway, but you know, when Jane Elizabeth came up with a Spiritual Power Tools book, not the tools themselves, because she used those for years before the book ever became a thing. But when the book came out, she was teaching in Unity churches, most of her classes, nearly all of her classes. I would dare to say all of her classes in Unity churches. So she was, even though Unity is liberal and open and, you know, definitely has an Eastern slant to it, Eastern influence, she was still putting her language in a way that people in that community, that spiritual community and upbringing, like I was brought up in, would understand it. So now when she teaches, if you look at some of her more recent videos that are on YouTube, she talks less about, she uses less the term God, and she will say different terms for it, cosmic consciousness or infinite intelligence, you know. So when I was saying whatever I was saying about my God self, right, it's not even a word that I identify with so much anymore. It's just easy to use because we all understand somewhat. We all have a little Venn diagram experience that matches in the center of that. We know what that is. So it's an easy word to use, but it just reminded me of something we'll talk about in a little bit too that comes up. Okay, so intuition or ego, how to tell. That's a good start. Our intuition will always guide us for the highest good of all concerned, even if it doesn't look the traditional Iowa kind and loving. I grew up in Iowa, I can say those things. You know, sometimes it can show up differently, but it's still good for all concerned, even if we can't see it then. It's great for the plant to be repotted, but we may not be able to see how great that is. You know, when I first learned that about plants, I remember thinking, did I kill it? Did I kill the plant? I moved it to this new pot and it's not doing anything. Does it hate me now? Is it going to die? And then eventually the leaves started coming up and it's like, oh, I just knew what had happened. It's like, oh, the roots have to establish first and then the leaves come out, you know. So sometimes that is how our intuition shows up also. When we act on it, we may not, there's a ripple effect that may not show up right away. Okay. Went too fast. All right, so practicing listening for guidance, practicing using our intuition. Just ask about little things to help develop, to help you, your discipline, your structure around listening for your guidance. Ask about little things. At what restaurant should I eat? And, you know, maybe, hopefully it's saying none right now, maybe, or stay outside 2 tables away from each other, whatever, I don't know. But, you know, just ask about little things. At what restaurant should I eat? At which store is the perfect outfit? And what movie should I? These are all things we should not be doing right now, aren't they? That's really funny. I didn't notice that. I was putting these slides together. So what else can we ask about? Which store should I order my Instacart groceries from? Which sweatpants should I wear around the house today? I don't know, but you can come up with your own. But asking about little things just helps get you in the groove of checking in with your guidance, checking in, what's happening. Because it's so easy to go right to our intellect, especially if we're competent and smart and, you know, trust ourselves and, well, I know what to do. I know that Aldi is going to have the bags of popcorn that I like, and Publix is going to have fresher produce, and, you know, but that's not listening to my guidance. That's listening to my head. So, you know, so it's important to take the time and be intentional about asking for guidance and then going with whatever shows up. I mean, part of her having these questions in here is go with whatever answer comes up in your head. Even if you don't feel like it's some big, amazing spiritual answer, that's not the point of this. The point of this is your adherence to the voice that you hear within yourself. And so if Publix comes up as your answer, Aldi comes up as your answer, then go with it. Go with it, even if there's that part of you, that emotional attachment over here saying, yeah, but I like that fresh fruit at Publix. It's fresher produce, but I don't know, I'm supposed to do everything at Aldi, so I'm just going to go with that. You know, that's that's how you practice defining your human attachments from your intuitive self. Just practice with those. And when you practice on little things, the outcome doesn't really matter, right? It's not going to hurt anybody for sure. It's not going to make any difference to your day. But trust it. Because I tell you what, there's that voice inside our heads that can just eat, the overanalyzing voice, the questioning voice, the anxious voice that can just question the heck out of our intuition. And if we let that go on, if we don't just say, no, I'm going with what came up for me, and I'm not paying attention to that, I'm doing this no matter what, then that little voice is going to win, and we're going to be questioning our way in circles, and that's not movement. That's staying stuck, right? And we want that movement. All right. Usually the first thought is our guidance, is what I found. Yeah, that can be very true. There are actually studies done too that showed, I don't remember the details of it, but it was about people's first gut instinct. And they interviewed people, and it was really subjective, but different scenarios where, they followed their gut instead of their research. No, I'm going to buy this house, but I need to find the schools. I need to find this. I need to find that. But when they trusted their gut instinct, it was usually the right one, and it was often the first one. It was often the first thing that felt right to them. So there is something to be said about that, because when it comes from within like that, it gets to us before our logical minds start tearing it apart with reason and research, right? So yes, very true. All right, and a few more things she has to say about guidance. I'm gonna make this screen over here so I can see the words. So again, practice on the small things so your intuition is strong when it comes to a bigger thing that you want to know, a bigger situation where you really want guidance, and oh my gosh, I have no idea what to do here. Please show me, please help me, give me some help. We can beg, it's okay. But we've been practicing on the smaller things so we know what that voice sounds like inside, what it feels like inside. It becomes more natural to us. It becomes as natural as using an arm. We're used to using our arms, so we don't really even think about it. And that's that appendage of our intuition. If in doubt, keep listening. If you don't get an answer, then just keep listening. Okay, I'm listening. If we're not getting an answer, sometimes what I will ask myself is like, okay, what am I holding on to? What's blocking me from getting an answer? It's probably some kind of emotional attachment that I have that I need to work with so that I can be clear for the real answer. Or I'm attached to the outcome. But I'm questioning it because I know I'm attached to the outcome. So we can work with that. Intuition often, but not always, can feel calming, while ego answers can feel agitating. Sometimes that's not true. There are exceptions to that rule. Sometimes our ego answers can feel calm because they're familiar. Because our ego answers are being pulled from our subconscious, which contain our patterns, which are extremely familiar and can be very calming to us. So, but that intuition, the calming feeling of intuition is when we know that we know that we know, and nobody can ever talk us out of that. When I had my first past life experience, during a process I was in the middle of, I knew that's what it was. And it didn't come in a way that was familiar to me. So I could have easily questioned it, but there was this part of me that is just like, I know that's what that was. And nobody will ever be able to talk me out of whether or not that was a past life or not, because my whole self knows. There's a calming, there's a given, there's a, I don't know. It's like, is the sky blue? I mean, I guess there's a question about that, but you know, it's like, yeah, the sky is blue, and I know it because I've experienced it with my eyes, but I know that was true because I've experienced it with my whole self. And in that way, our intuition can feel calming, and our ego answers can feel agitating because, you know, we know when we're emotionally attached to something, or if there's an emotional block in the way, that's all. Our emotions are always going to feel agitating. Our intuition can, because guidance can stir up our fear. So it's not really the intuition that's feeling agitating, it's the fear around going through with it that can feel agitating. So anyway, so that's why it's important to practice, because then you get to learn what that feels like inside of you, and you can discern which is which more readily. Intuition is not derived from common sense, value judgment, or complex rationalization. I love this one because I really like my mind. I am an intelligent person, I like to think, and so I have a lot of value in my intellect. And so this one has been really important to me over the years, to not put so much blind trust into my intellect, because my intuition is pulling from something I know not of in the moment. And it's pulling from something that is so much greater than anything my intellect could ever come up with. So I may be smart, I may be able to figure things out, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's intuition. That is a wonderful mind that can pull things from experience and put them together in ways that are helpful or logical or make sense, but that's different from intuition. Not wrong or bad, it's just not the same. All right, when you have an intuitive flash, it will be a sudden insight that will instantly bring complete knowledge and total understanding of the situation at hand. So that's what I was talking about before, when it's like, I know that I know that I know that that was a past life experience that I experienced. I know that was me in that scenario that I was experiencing in my mind's eye, and period, end of report. I don't care if people think I'm crazy. I don't care. I don't care, because I know it's true. So, you know, so it's that kind of knowing. So anyway, I'm sure you've all had those experiences. I picked this picture for this slide too, because it can be messy as we're learning how to practice with our guidance, because we've had plenty of lifetimes where we've made mistakes in our own judgment at the time. We've made mistakes, we've done things wrong, we've maybe done really awful things that we feel bad about. And so there's a mistrust of ourselves, a mistrust of our human selves, which isn't a bad thing always. But when we're practicing our intuition and following our guidance, there's a part of us that doesn't trust our human self. And so there's got to be that discernment between what's my higher self that I can trust, and what's my human self that is wired with all these different experiences and decisions from those experiences, and behaviors and patterns and all of that. It can be messy, but it's worth it. It's going to create a beautiful, beautiful piece. All right, spiritual power tool number 8. Okay, I think we're going to be able to get through these tonight. We'll push it a little bit. If you don't mind, if you have to go, it's okay. So spiritual power tool number 8, how to stay on the transformation track. So these are the things that need to be part of our spiritual hygiene in order to keep moving forward. Reaffirm your commitment to your spiritual journey 50 times a day if you need to. That is, you know, and if you're committing to your heart's desire, that's something different. I mean, it's your spiritual journey anyway, no matter what your heart's desire is. But, you know, I commit to my health, I commit to whatever. You have to reaffirm your commitment to yourself all the time. It's not just one commitment, and then if we don't make it, we fail. It's no, I'm just going to keep recommitting, you know, fall down 7 times, get up 8 times, you know, keep going, keep going, keep going. Meditate at the same time every day. Remember, during our meditation discussion, that's because you're building an energy field around your meditation space and time. which is also physical. So you're creating that place that will lift you. Observe your thinking and protect the bridge to your higher consciousness. What this means is, you know, that bridge to your higher consciousness is your intuition. So you want your mind and your emotions, your body to be as clear as possible to protect that inflow of light, energy, intuitive guidance. You want to keep that clear. And when we get caught up in our thinking, our negative thinking, when we got caught up in our positive thinking to do the same thing, it pulls us in a different direction than when we're maintaining our Zen zone. We're maintaining that above 5 self, that clarity. And we can, you know, it doesn't mean that we're not happy or excited about things, and it doesn't mean that we don't feel our emotions, but we're just not pulled off track by them. And that's what that observer self does to help say, okay, here I am, but I need to keep going. And I can feel sad about this for 5 minutes, but then I need to keep going, keep things moving. And confront your emotional patterns through journaling, 7 steps. We've got all those good tools to back these up. So this is something to put on your refrigerator. It's like, okay, I'm feeling down in the dumps today. What do I need to do? All right, first thing, reaffirm your commitment to your spiritual journey. Okay, I am committed to my spiritual journey. What do I need to know today? Checking in with guidance. Meditation is going to help, observing and addressing those emotional pieces that come up when they come up. Easy, right? Simple, not easy. All right, what else? When in doubt, forgive. Or if you want to reword that, again, that word forgiveness is so tricky. I have found working with people over the years, so tricky. So when in doubt, accept what's happening, accept that it's something to look at, to work with, release it, and grow. So that's part of keeping things moving. Accept, learn, release, grow. Ask for guidance and listen for your answers. You can go back to that spiritual power tool if you need to. And don't dwell on the past or fret about the future. Remain powerfully present in the moment as much as possible. And, you know, that's a nice Facebook post, you know, oh, be in the moment. But what does that really mean? That really means being present with yourself, being present with that listening, you know, that listening self within you. I think I pulled up, I didn't even notice this on one of the earlier slides, but I pulled up a piece of graphic art, whatever it's called. Oh my gosh, my brain today, I'm telling you, where it's, you know, I'm listening with my eyes, my ears, and my heart, you know, and being in the present moment is the only way we can be in tune with ourselves, you know, because otherwise the past is pulling us in one direction, being sad about it or hurt about it or obsessed around it because it was so wonderful, or being worried about the future pulls us in that direction. And like, okay, what am I going to do? How's this going to happen? What if, you know, and that pulls us out. So we want, you know, being in the moment is like, okay, all I can do is whatever is right here in front of me to do right now. And then recite the prescription for spiritual alignment, which is what we're going to be looking at next, or some other kind of aligning statement or prayer. And Jane Elizabeth prescribes in her book to say the affirmations we're going to look at 3 times daily, 3 times each, 3 times a day. So I have to admit, I don't quite do them that much, but I do use them in my meditation time as my mind is settling down. It just gives me something to focus on. And again, we're going to look at those on the next slide. I went to a day retreat one time through the Blue Mountain Meditation Institute, I think. Anyway, it was in Chicago, and it was all about centering prayer, which is a Christian, I can't even use that word anymore. It's a Catholic, it's a Christian when Christianity meant what it was supposed to mean. type of prayer where you pray and let the words be your focus. Like we've done meditations where our heart is the focus, or our breath is the focus, or we have our eye position where we feel the most calm and centered, and that eye position is our focus. But through centering prayer, the words are the focus. And so we're really present with the words and, the space between the words, that just being very present. Or listening to music is like that too, where you're listening and you're really tuning into the notes, the sound, the feeling, the collective sound of whatever music you have playing. So there's different ways to have anchors, and you can find the one that really fits you well. But the prescription for spiritual alignment, which we will go to now, maybe, there we go. This is the one that Jane Elizabeth came up with for herself to help her stay aligned, help her keep focused on her journey. And it goes, I am aligned with the presence of God within. I am protected by God's love, wisdom, knowledge, and grace. The God consciousness within helps me discover more about who I am. Thank you, God, for the gift of spiritual intuition. Thank you, God, for aligning my conscious, subconscious, and superconscious mind. So I'm aligned with the presence of God within, where, again, use whatever words work for you. I don't mind using God with these affirmations, because back when I learned it from her to begin with, it was how the term I use anyway. So it's familiar, but I know what that means for me. It's not God as something like really far away from me, but it's that presence within, right? I'm aligned with the, say what you want, infinite presence within me. I'm aligned with the infinite presence within me. I'm protected by universal love, wisdom, knowledge, and grace, or I'm protected by the love, wisdom, knowledge, and grace of the universe. Somebody shared with me about meditation they were listening to, and I think I've shared this before too, because it was so touching for me, where it's like, just feel like you are being held by 10,000 arms and watched by 10,000 eyes. And that's what this statement is portraying, that comfort and that safety and that protection that we have with us all the time, but especially as we're working on ourselves and releasing things, because we need that extra support. If we're just going along doing our karma, unconsciously, and some good things happen, some bad things happen, and that's just life, because that is just life, then there's not really that extra protection needed, because things are set up pretty much, not that there's not protection, but it's a different level of protection. But when we're consciously working to heal these things, suddenly we get a little more attention from the universe to support us in this process, because it's hard. It's very hard. All right. And it's wonderful, and it's worth it. The God consciousness within helps me discover more about who I am. So it's really my higher self within me helps me discover more about who I am. My intuitive self helps me discover more about who I am. And affirming that. Thank you, God, for the gift of spiritual intuition. This for me is a nice reminder that, oh yeah, that's there, and I can tune into it, and I can make it part of my day way more than I am any day, any given day. And thank you, God, for aligning my conscious, my subconscious, and my superconscious mind. And that superconscious mind, remember way back when we talked about the iceberg a few weeks ago, superconscious mind is everything surrounding the iceberg. It's infiltrated into every little bit of the iceberg, that ocean of infinite presence. And we want to be aligned. We want to be aligned with our conscious mind. We want our subconscious aligned with that. And we have to clear out enough, and clear out our attachments and our patterns enough so that we can be in alignment with that wholeness of our divine presence. All right. So I'm aligned with the presence of God within. So in our meditation tonight, we're going to use these affirmations just to get a feel from them. But, you know, just have something that when you sit down in your meditation time helps you focus. And words or affirmations or prayers that you're familiar with, just kind of give your mind something to chew on as it quiets down and settles down a little bit. I just love these. They've got good vibes too. And our words have vibration also. You know, if you think of the reaction that swear words give us, you know, different levels for all of us, but there's a definite force that comes out with them. Or hearing the song Happy Birthday elicits a whole different feeling inside of us too. And these words, and there are many really significant prayers, you know, if you find something or as affirmations that resonate with you, then you're going to have your vibration on that, and it will help lift you and tune you into that centered place within yourself. So very, very good stuff. Good tool. All right. So let's go ahead and have our meditation time. I have no idea what time it is. All right. We'll do a little meditation with the prescription for spiritual alignment. I invite you to get comfortable. Take a couple of deep breaths. I'm going to take these affirmations, these words of confirmation, claiming the truth of them and the essence of the truth, whether change the words however you want, but tune into the essence of the words and what they mean to you. I am aligned with the presence of God within. I am aligned with the presence of God within. I am aligned with the presence of God within. Feel that right in the center of your heart, or wherever it's moving you. Just notice that. I am protected by God's love, wisdom, knowledge, and grace. I am protected by God's love, wisdom, knowledge, and grace. I am protected by God's love, wisdom, knowledge, and grace. Just feeling the 10,000 arms holding you, the 10,000 compassionate eyes watching over you. Love, support, the presence. The God consciousness within helps me discover more about who I am. The God consciousness within helps me discover more about who I am. The God consciousness within helps me discover more about who I am. My higher self helps me discover more about that divine presence within me. Thank you, God, for the gift of spiritual intuition. Thank you, God, for the gift of spiritual intuition. Thank you, God, for the gift of spiritual intuition. Feels a gratitude for that part of you. It's like an extra arm, an extra support that helps you. Thank you that we're all capable of that intuitive attunement. Thank you, God, for aligning my conscious, subconscious, and superconscious mind. Thank you, God, for aligning my conscious, my subconscious, and my superconscious mind. Feel the layers of that conscious, aware part of you, that storage that is there to bless you as well as to be purified. And that superconscious, that infinite love and presence all around you that you are also very much part of. Thank you, God, for aligning my conscious, my subconscious, and my superconscious mind. And I'm aligned with my highest possibilities. And feel that calming support that lifts you through those words. The essence, it's not just the words, because you can replace anything that serves you, but it's the essence, the vibration of those words that helps lift, open, calm, and puts us in that receptive state. A more receptive state than we were before we walked through that. I'm going to say them through one more time, just straight through. I am aligned with the presence of God within. I am protected by God's love, wisdom, knowledge, and grace. The God consciousness within helps me discover more about who I am. Thank you, God, for the gift of spiritual intuition. Thank you, God, for aligning my conscious, my subconscious, and my superconscious mind. Notice that sense of alignment. Whatever is touching you right now, just notice it. Bring it into the center of your heart. You don't need to know what it is or what it means, just that it's there to support you. Maybe you won't know what it is for 3 months, or maybe you already know. Something in between or beyond, but it's yours, belongs to you. Feel that it's been made part of you. Feel that from the top of your head to the tips of your toes. Say words of gratitude in whatever way resonates with you. Thank you for this gift. Thank you for waking me up to it, helping me tune in. And thank you for courage and wisdom. And inspiration in the face of the mundane. Thank you. Thank you for this beautiful, universal presence, infinite presence all around us. And we feel it more strongly because we're together, tapping into the same thing. And let yourself feel your body in your chair, your feet on the floor. And take a deep breath, or 2 or 3. Those seeds of wisdom and guidance come when we're receptive, when we're listening, when we take time to be still, and we don't have to know what they mean. We don't have to know what it is. We just know that we're being supported. That's the beauty of working at this level of our healing, is that we are always supported, even when it doesn't feel like we are. Sometimes it can feel like we're all alone, and we're supported more than we ever have been. So thank you for your presence tonight together. It means a lot that we gather together. Just some links if you're interested for more. centerforenlightenment.com. Actually, I don't know why I have that. I think that goes to the cfenlightenment.org website. Actually, I think it's, anyway, I've got too much tech stuff on my brain today. Anyway, try that one, see if it works. If not, cfenlightenment.org is the main website. That will take you. Jane Elizabeth has a YouTube channel too, but all of her videos are on the website. All of her blog posts are on the website. All of her audio recordings are on the website. There are hundreds of meditations. The whole Spiritual Power Tools book is there. And again, I don't have mine next to me, but every morning I open that book up. I just close my eyes and say, what do I need to know for today? And I open it up and pick a place and read what's there, and that's my message for today. You can do that with any spiritual book that resonates with you, but I like using that one because there's always something practical it's telling me to do, whether I like it or not. Oh, 7 steps again, awesome, great. But what a beautiful way to be guided. And if you're into Facebook, you can find Center for Enlightenment on Facebook, and there are a lot of inspirational posts that come through there regularly. So, and Twitter, if you are into Twitter nowadays, all the Facebook posts get automatically posted to Twitter, so you won't miss anything. And my website is Center for Dynamic Healing. I don't have quite the YouTube volume that Jane Elizabeth does, but if you need anything, that's how you can get a hold of me. If you don't know my number or my email address, or where I live. Anyway. Thank you all for being here tonight. I think, so what are we doing next week since we finished the book? We are going to take a break next week because my intuition is telling me that I need to kind of take a break and work with some things. And then, so in 2 weeks, I will start the soul evolution, reincarnation, and karma process until we get to the 7 steps for releasing the year. So that's what we'll work on. And if we need to continue the karma reincarnation discussion, because I want to go very slowly, but I want to be, it's slow because it's full, okay? And being able to just take that information a little bit at a time and expand on what needs to be expanded on. So if you're interested in that, that's what's going to be happening in 2 weeks. And then sometime early December, we'll start the 7-step process. So anyway, thank you again for being here. My love goes with you this week and next couple of weeks, and have a wonderful rest of your weekend and week, I guess, since it's Sunday. So anyway, lots of love to you. Take care. Bye-bye.